Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Haunted Hearsay. I'm Caroline, and I'm in Donegal, and I'm joined with Ben down in Dublin, in the capital. Hi, Ben. How are you?
Hi, how are you? I hear the weather is
What's it like?
great,
What's it like down there this evening?
dull, and not nice weather. I hear it's great up there for you.
Beautiful. Sun splitting the rocks out here today. I mean, it's not that warm yet. It's still only about
Yeah.
15, 16 degrees, but just absolutely gorgeous out. So it is. So we're up to Easter week, and have you any plans for this weekend?
Not really. I kind of forgot that tomorrow I have a day off, which is nice. Um,
Good Friday, yeah.
so I'll be doing lots of praying, uh,
God
sleep.
forgive you. That's
No,
well, sure, there's nothing here. I mean, it's not like we can even attend mass
I,
anyway. They do it
I was
outside.
I was thinking maybe we should do a run through of some famous people that allegedly came back from the dead as a kind of homage to the resurrection of Jesus. I'm sure there's other stories of people that were,
Well, you've got all the Elvis fans. Well, not all the Elvis fans. I'm an Elvis fan and I don't believe it. But there's an awful lot that believe that he faked his own death.
yeah,
Now there's rumors that Prince faked his death. Michael Jackson apparently faked his death.
Jeffrey Epstein is another one, and
Really? I didn't hear that one. Is that really? That's one too, is it?
yeah, and well, I was more talking about on a supernatural level. I'm sure there's like, I don't know, I can't even think of them, but like Dracula and stuff, or like there's people that like were buried alive and came back, or
Well,
people
there
that
was
died.
that thing in Victorian times where there was a bell and a rope from the bell went down into the coffin with the actual body because of there was things like catatonia where
Mm,
people would go into a catatonic state,
yeah,
probably something similar to a coma. People wouldn't have been able to recognize that at the time. But there has been incidents where people were catatonic and were passed off as being dead and they weren't actually dead. So it was so that that wouldn't happen if you were to wake up in your coffin. I don't think it was like, but it was just, in case we're burying them and they're not, so that was a thing.
mm, yeah, yeah.
How often it happened, I don't know. But there was, I'm trying to think, Nostradamus's grave was desecrated. I think it was about 100 years after he was buried, and there was some sort of folklore that if you drank from his skull, you would get some famous premonition or something like that. I think it was more along the lines if you drank from his skull, you were going to get really bad luck. But his grave was desecrated,
For
and
that,
the skull stolen, and two people decided to do this.
that's awful.
Whatever happened to them and to his skull, I really don't know. If I heard it, I'd forgotten it. But yeah, there was, and what I remember that from? There was a video that was circulated in the 80s. This is back in the video days, and it was the quatrains of Nostradamus narrated by Orson Welles.
Ah, okay.
It was absolutely amazing. And it was done like a sort of docu-film.
Yeah.
So for every quatrain, they had people, like it was a proper short film.
Mm,
So that you had the people acting out, so you could also visualize it, but with the fabulous voice of the late great Orson Welles in the background.
mhm.
And I mean, he could have read the dictionary. I would have sat and listened to him. Like there's people like that, him, Richard Burton, these characters that had voices that you would literally just, you'd listen to them read anything.
Mm.
I have never been able to get that sense on any other format.
I'm sure it's online somewhere.
I'm pretty sure it was CBS that had it.
Mm.
I have tried. I have tried. So, I mean, if you can find it,
I'll have
it was wonderfully done, wonderfully executed. And as I say, done by the late, great, very, 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 very smart Orson Welles. And I totally agreed, having read the quatrains well before I'd ever seen the actual video. I totally agreed with his summation of the whole thing.
Mm.
I wasn't sort of, this is fact, this is what we have interpreted, this is what it's, and we'll tell you, it was very, very good, very, very good. So
I'll see if I
there's
can
that.
find this anyway.
Yeah, I do have a look for that. I do have a ghost story though that's
Mm.
native here to Gweedore. and it's about the line road. I have a picture there of it's like a crossroads. It's just to give people an idea of the area I'm talking about. Out at the back of Folcara on or back of Errigal on your way to Folcara, and it's called the line road because that's where the train used to go. And it
Okay.
was known as that's where the train line used to go. So the nickname is the line road. There's no houses between that point and maybe you're almost at Folcara. Like it's a very desolate long stretch of road and very haunted. And the other picture I've shown, which is the trees on the other side, is just to show you an idea of both sides of the road and just how vast and how quiet and lonely it is. There's a lot of cars on the road here now in Donegal. Nearly everyone has a car, but back in the 70s, young ones didn't have cars. There was a third of the traffic on the road. And I mean, you could be walking on the road and not pass a car all night.
Yeah.
Now that would never happen.
Yeah.
I mean, youngsters in the 70s, if you were driving a car, it was your parents' car, and so very, very quiet. And the story goes, there was this woman that was coming back from Letterkenny, and she'd taken the coast road because the roads were bad. And coming into or outside Folcara, towards like into the back of coming into that road, the line road at the back of Errigal, she spotted this young woman frantically waving at her on the side of the road. This is late at night. And she stopped. Now, this young girl's house was kind of out of her way, but she was so anxious. She was a nurse. She was on her way home. Her mother had taken ill. She'd got word at last minute, and she was really struggling to get there.
Mhm.
And but she'd no bag or anything. She had a coat, and so her car. She assumed her car maybe had broken down. This girl was very upset, so she decided, it wasn't. She knew if she dropped her off, she would still have to walk the rest of the way. So she drove her to the house. You have a picture of the house there. There's nobody lives there anymore now. It's been vacant, I think, for 40, 50 years.
It's a lovely house.
And yeah, lovely spot. I don't know the whole story about them. I know they're not there now.
Mm.
And so she dropped her off at the road end. She's gone on, your woman's gone on her way. So she happened to be coming back that way about a week later. And she thought, I'm going to stop and make sure. She was so upset, so distraught that night, that young girl. She couldn't wait to get home. And I'm going to stop and make sure everything was okay. And she did. And she went up and she knocked on the door, and the young girl's mother answered the door. And she says, and your daughter, I gave her a lift home last week. You took ill. And apparently your woman's face just went pure white. And she says, what's wrong? And she says, my daughter was killed in a car accident coming home 2 years ago. Last week was her anniversary. I had taken a heart attack. She had taken a heart attack, and they were taking her to Letterkenny Hospital. She had got word. She was rushing home to get to her mum, and she never made it. Her car crashed. She'd actually died in a car accident on the way home. So this woman, now I don't know the woman's name, but she's not the only person that she's appeared. Apparently people driving over that road, and I haven't heard of it in recent years, which doesn't mean to say that it hasn't happened, that she would appear in the car.
In the car?
In the car, in the back of the car, it's in the back seat of the car, or she's standing at the side of the road, and when you stop, she's not there. My mum and dad, well, my dad was a musician, God rest his soul. He was going out to do a gig in a pub that used to be outside Folcara called the Ray River Inn, and it's not there anymore, out towards Dunfanaghy. And there was him and my mum and another couple, and whoever was driving the car. So there was 5 of them in the car. But this is back in the 70s. You could fit 8 or 9 in the car comfortably. And they're driving, see that crossroads, they've gone past that bit and they're heading towards Folcara, and pitch dark at night, and they spot the woman on the side of the road. And it was, oh, Jesus, stop and give her a lift. We'll pile her in somewhere. So they're all bunching up to let her in, and they're sitting waiting for her to come up into the car. And looked out, there was nobody there.
Not there, gone.
They stopped to give her a lift, and they were all like, right, okay, we'll bunch up, let her in there beside you. And there was nobody there. So she has appeared several times. God love her, she's a restless soul. But I don't think she's the only restless soul out that road, because that's on the other side of the river that I was showing you, Cushcladdy River, is where the Guinness estate starts.
Mm-hmm.
And the last evictions to take place between Glenveigh and the Guinness estate was in Glenthornan and over at that part. So that they done that walk. There was a lot of people that were evicted from around that area, and there's nobody lived there since. You know yourself how sparse that area is like.
Yeah.
And so I'd say there's a lot of souls, plus the fact it's only about a mile up from where Chuirt is. and that was a barracks. I did get a wee bit more information that I remember actually being there myself in the 70s. It was completely run down, completely neglected. So
You
actually,
have
after it
a
was,
picture I can put up of
yeah, the two pictures there, and the tree out the front is just a view from the front of the hotel to the tree.
yeah.
That tree's been there a very long time, and it's significant because that's where the wee boats used to go out, and they'd go hunting from that spot as well.
Okay, okay.
And see, the thing is, I think that whole estate belonged to Glenveigh at one time. Part of it would have been sold then, and it would have
Including
been the
the
Guinness family maybe had
yeah.
bought part of it. But I think the whole lot was the Glenveigh estate in it originally.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's still quite huge anyway. It's the national park now. It's still quite huge, but you can see as I say, with the Encourage, that was originally a hunting lodge. We know that now. It's built in the 1830s. I don't know what was there before that. I haven't been able to find out so far, only because I can't really go knocking on people's doors to talk to them, and it's not information I've been able to find out online. But then it was used as a barracks. Now that I know, people where you don't know what happened to people there. You know, there's all sorts of rumors and innuendo of things, terrible things that were done to locals there. But that would have been the same in barracks all over Ireland at the time.
Mm-hmm.
They were treated as, you know, flora and fauna. They weren't even treated properly as human beings.
Yeah.
So there's a good possibility. We know maybe that's why that's haunted. That lay empty until actually Patrick Doherty bought it. And that was in the early 80s he bought it, because I remember there was the most stunning tiled courtyard floor. And I remember them going in with jackhammers to take it up.
Oh.
I know it was, and this is like, you know, back late 70s, early 80s. And I mean, it's not that I had somewhere to put it, but I even knew then, I thought, oh, you're going to regret taking that floor out.
They could have
But
incorporated it into the hotel or something nice.
yeah, I know. I mean, don't get me wrong, what they done was absolutely beautiful. But so I have to assume that that's where those hauntings came from, but it's the whole area in general.
Mm-hmm.
It's a crossroads. There's always something about a crossroads, isn't there, when you go back far enough in time? It
Yeah,
was usually a meeting place. It was usually a fighting place. It was usually a,
they hung
you
people.
know, yeah, yes, pretty much. That's, you know, when you go back far enough, that's pretty much the story. So it was a
The
crossroads.
devil appears at the crossroads, doesn't he?
Yeah, well, that's another one as well. That's really the blues legend, isn't it?
Sell your soul.
Yeah. I wonder, is that an actual sort of, did that come from American folklore, or was that sort of brought over
Oh,
from
maybe.
Africa? You know, sort of, was that part of their folklore?
Who knows?
Because
Uh,
we didn't have that here where you met the devil at the crossroads. I always remember
you
that
have
from,
other, you have other meeting the devil things like the gambler and the
yeah.
stories of kind of.
Usually anyone meeting the devil was always, there was always drink involved
Oh yeah,
in
yeah.
days gone by here in Ireland,
Drinking,
like, you know.
debauchery, and
But
gambling.
yeah. And
Uh,
the only time I can ever remember hearing about it that was to do with the Americas in any form or fashion was, you know, these brilliant blues guitarists, especially what was it? Robert, what was the second name? Oh my God Almighty! He was just absolutely. I can't think of the second name, but apparently he sold his soul to the devil at the crossroads.
Robert Johnson.
Robert Johnson, very man. I do have a CD this year. I should have remembered it, but I remember that because he went in and they could go into. There was these like recording studios and radio studios, shacks set up at crossroads at various places, and you could go in and pay your dime or whatever it is, and
Get
you
your
know,
song put on tape.
sing play your song. Yeah, exactly. And people usually didn't know what color they were on the radio.
Oh yeah,
So
yeah.
it was a lot easier for them to go in and things like that. So apparently that was that was one way of making money. And Robert Johnson, yeah, that was the folklore attached to him. So I'd never heard it from anywhere else except. So I often wondered, was it sort of like, you know, from an African or even a Caribbean tradition?
I wonder. I know there's some interesting Irish traditions that spread over to the Caribbean. And
Well, that's you see a lot of slave trade. A lot of Irish slaves were taken to
mm,
the Caribbean, to the likes of Barbados and Trinidad and Tobago. So
mhm.
apparently, in those islands, you'll find a lot of in the older grave plots, you'll find all these old Irish names, and you'll actually find a lot of sort of the names of the descendants of the people there. And you go to like the likes of Jamaica and things like that. Now there've a lot of Irish sounding names.
Murphy and the rest of it. Yeah.
Yeah, they have. You know, I mean, and that's probably where it came from. Like,
Mhm. Yeah, and I know some other words kind of led creeped into vernacular as well, like
mm,
Gansey, apparently they say over there for jumpers.
I can't. Well, see, I can't hear that word without thinking about my grandfather. When I think of that, the day at Ballomanis,
Oh yeah,
and that, oh, because that's what he always referred to his jumpers as Gansies.
the Gansey,
It's
yeah.
such an Irish word.
Hmm.
Yeah. It
Anyway,
just goes to show you these things have trickled down and intertwined. Sure, the story goes that Bob Marley's father was an Irish sailor.
oh yeah, really?
Yeah,
Oh,
that's the story in Jamaica. Anyway,
interesting.
I used to know a fella from there, and it was my sister that went out with him for years actually, and his mother was like neighbours of Bob Marley's mum,
Right,
and apparently that was the thing that he was an Irish sailor.
that's
Whether it was, I don't know the whole story, so there's no point in me going to embellish because I just know that was the story, that he was an Irish sailor. So we have Che Guevara, whose real second name was Lynch,
oh really? Yeah, I heard
and
that.
we have Bob Marley, whose dad was an Irishman. This makes so much more sense now. Why, where we all get these laid back roots from?
Yeah, well, I mean, there's a lot to be. There's a lot
We
in
have a lot more in common with them.
yeah, and music.
Well,
Ireland's a very musical country
that's true.
as well.
That's very true. There's this weekend coming now. It's not that really I have an awful lot of plans, but I'm between planting. If this good weather keeps up, I promised myself I was going to be more active outside. So whatever stories we can find over the weekend and come back next Thursday with, I thought maybe one or two of us would do maybe a reading for Tuesday.
Yep, I still never made it over to Glasnevin, so I'm gonna try again.
Yeah, there's not. See, I keep saying I'm going to. Like, I mean, whenever I said last week, oh, I'm going to find out more about encouragement, I did actually try. I thought, oh, well, there goes that at the moment. So I'm trying to stick as close to home before we start moving on to other stories, etc. We'll
Yeah,
have plenty to do once we're out and about again, but we're still.
yeah, we're not gonna run out.
Mm, oh, I hope not. Right. I want to call it a night there. I hope you don't mind. But when I say call it a night, it's just that it's such a lovely evening and I can't be sitting. I have to get out and do something.
Very good. Well, those thanks for the update, and those pictures are cool, so I'll put them up. Um, and I wonder.
Yeah, but still, I mean, if anyone's watching that knows anything about Anchorage
Yeah,
or
I'd
what it
be
was
interested,
previous,
or the previous story. I'd be interested to hear if
yeah,
anyone's ever.
yeah, I'm sure there must have been something there first. I would love to know a lot more about it. So if anybody knows anything, even if they PM me or something, I would, or even point me in the right direction of somebody I can go and speak to, that might know a bit more about it, because I'm very curious about the whole story now. So it would be good to link these stories up. We're going by, and then we can do a full recap, going from Slasher Sweeney's, because it's all the one road going out.
Mm-hmm.
So all these things that have happened all kind of seem to go from one crossroads to the next crossroads to the next crossroads. So
Spooky area in general.
yes, exactly. It would be very interesting then to find out from a geological point of view if there was any ley lines.
Yeah. Yeah. I wonder
That
now.
would be very interesting.
Donegal seems like it's one of the most haunted counties in Ireland, in my opinion.
Oh my goodness. I know. I absolutely agree. You don't
Anyway,
have to go. You don't have to go to. In fact, I don't have to leave the house.
exactly. We haven't got.
I don't even have to leave the house.
Yeah.
Listen, everyone, thank you very much. I know it was sort of short and sweet tonight, but it is Easter week, and I did do Lent, and I have everything sitting on standby now for Sunday morning. Whereas I think I'll have chocolate and wine for breakfast, maybe, just because I can. But listen, whatever you decide to do on Easter Sunday, have a great time. Happy Easter, everybody, and we're back next week. So,
See you.
so
Bye.
long, folks.